Okay, so you're very welcome to the class today, everybody. And just to start by introducing myself, my name is Janice Tucker, and what I do is I help people to improve their health through a couple of different ways. The main way, when I'm able to, and it's not COVID-19, is I practice Chinese medicine and acupuncture. So I'm based in the southwest of Ireland, and I have 3 clinics here. At the moment, I'm not able to get into them, but the other thing that I do is I teach Qigong, and that's what we're going to be doing over the next 6 weeks as part of a special feature for Element 3. And so I hope that you enjoy what we're going to be doing over the course of the next 6 weeks, which will be an introduction to Qigong. And so for those of you who are not familiar with it, Qigong is a branch of Chinese medicine, especially the medical Qigong, which is what I was trained to teach. And what it does is it helps you to bring your body back into its natural balance. So the simple exercises which I'll be showing you over the next 6 weeks are all about just doing simply that, about improving the flow of qi, or what we call energy, in the body. And by improving that flow so that it's not stagnant, that it's unimpeded and it's really free flowing, in that way, all the different systems of our body can very freely communicate with each other. And when that free communication is happening, the body just generally and very naturally brings itself back into balance. So you don't have to do anything. So all we do by using these simple exercises is create the conditions whereby the qi, or the energy, can flow freely. That's all we're doing. And what you'll notice as we go through these exercises is that you'll find that some of them are much more energizing in that they enliven the body and they give you much more vitality and put a bit more of a pep in your step. And other exercises, you feel that they're really kind of calming and relaxing, so they can help with any anxiety, any restlessness, any of the kind of mind chatter that a lot of us often have going on in our brains. So there's a lovely balance between the two, between that kind of energizing on the one hand and really relaxing and calming on the other hand. So the kinds of effects and benefits you can expect from practicing Qigong would be a calmer mind, a calmer, more relaxed feeling body. Qigong exercises can often help to improve flexibility and relieve any sources of discomfort or pain that you might be feeling in the muscles. Also, Qigong has the mental effect of being able to calm and clear your mind to the extent that you feel you've got much more focus, that you're much more able to concentrate on things that you want to concentrate on. So there are many different benefits of Qigong, and with continued practice, which is really just little and often easily integrated into your day, what you'll find over a period of time is you start to notice very subtle but profound changes in your body and your mind. So I'm just going to start with today's class being kind of very basic, really just kind of getting the ball rolling, as it were. So some of these kinds of exercises you may have done if you've done any other exercise of this kind before, like Tai Chi or yoga, which have some kind of overlap with Qigong as well. You might have done something similar to this, but if this is something that's completely new to you, then I can assure you that all the exercises are really easy to do. And the number one rule for you all to bear in mind is that you should never be in any pain or discomfort with anything. So if you find that you're maybe doing an exercise and you're standing up and you feel like you're getting tired, then sit down. Be more comfortable. If you know that you can't stand for very long at all, you may want to practice these exercises from a seated position to begin with. So during the course of all the exercises, I'll be giving you alternatives and what you can do in order to make yourselves much more comfortable. But please don't just listen to me, listen to your own body and just go with the flow and find a way to be more comfortable. Also, with some of the movements, you might find that they're beyond your range of flexibility. If you have joint problems, for example, or any kind of arthritis, any muscle problems, that might restrict your movement in some way. So please don't force it. Only go to the range of your movement which is comfortable for you. With some of the movements, you might find a little bit of a stretch and you feel that, and that's good because that's really opening up and really encouraging the flow of energy through that area, but you shouldn't be in any pain with it. So really just mind yourselves, look after yourselves, don't go into anything that's too much for you. There is no competition here. All you're looking for is to find, physically certainly, a little bit of a stretch from what you're doing, and if you feel a little bit of a stretch, even if your movement is tiny compared to what I'm showing you, it doesn't matter, because what you're doing is you're actually having some benefit and causing that flow of that free flow of chi in your own body, even with a tiny movement. So just follow along as best you can with what we're going to do today, and then at the end, hopefully you'll have some opportunity to ask questions as well. Okay, so we're going to start just by getting you into, firstly, a Qigong stance if you're standing, and then what I'll also do is, for those of you who want to sit, I'll show you a sitting position as well. So for your Qigong stance, if you all want to just, if you're standing up now, just look down at your feet and just check that your feet are parallel. So hopefully you can see my feet here. What you don't want is you don't want the feet, one of the feet sticking out at the side with the toes pointing out, or the heel out, or your weight unevenly distributed between the two feet. You want the weight to be evenly distributed. You want the feet to be parallel. So it's almost like your feet are like train tracks. If you were to draw a line from the big toes outwards, they would be going straight ahead like train tracks, okay? Now, for some people, that's actually quite difficult to do, because a lot of us have a little bit of lacking in flexibility around the outside of the hips here. And to be able to bring the feet into this parallel position involves kind of turning and like a little bit of flexion here in this outer part of the hips and the thighs. So you may find, for some of you, that you need to have the feet with the toes at a little bit of an angle going outwards to begin with, because this parallel position could be quite uncomfortable for you. So that's just giving you an option there. But bear in mind that with practice, if you do this often enough, just little and often, you will eventually be able to get that flexibility in your hips so that you can bring your feet into this lovely parallel position. But that might take a little bit of time, so just be patient with yourself with that. So then what I'd like you to do is, you're looking down at your feet, and I want you to now just, if your balance allows, is just move the body forward slightly so that the weight comes onto the balls of the feet. And then bring the body back so that the weight goes onto your heels. You may want to use your hands just to stabilize yourself a little bit. So just rocking backwards and forwards, and just seeing how that feels to change the weight between front and back. And now I'd like you to decrease that movement, so make it smaller and come back to somewhere which is like a midpoint, so that you feel as though the weight is evenly distributed between the balls of the feet and your heels. And then feel into the soles of your feet. Maybe just close your eyes for a moment and feel the soles of your feet, the whole of the soles of your feet, from your heels through the middle of the foot towards the ball of the foot, and all the toes in contact with the ground, almost as though your feet are super glued to the ground. So this is your base, this is your anchor. This will give you stability for any kind of practice that you do from a standing position. And now look down again at your knees. So you want your knees to be directly above your feet, again, hip width distance apart. And you want to have what's called a little micro bend in the knees. So the knees are relaxed. But in order for you to feel into that micro bend, what I'd like you to do is firstly just stand up really straight and lock your knees out and see how that feels. What you might notice is that you feel a little bit of tension here in the thighs at the front, and then also maybe a little bit of pressure on the backs of the knees as well, maybe going down into the calves. So in this position, you're not relaxed, you're feeling tension. What I want you to do now is bend the knees, keeping the heels on the floor. Just bend your knees as much as they'll allow you to do. So bending the knees as much as you can. And in this position, now see how you feel. And again, you might feel tension here in the thighs. You might also feel tension running up from the backs of the heels in the Achilles tendons and up into the calves. So again, this is not a relaxed position. So find that middle position. So come up to a position where the knees are just slightly bent. You may just want to gently just bounce up and down on the knees and just feel that looseness in the knee joints. The next part of the body we want to look at for getting our Qigong stance correct is the lower back area. So the two areas which are what's called most difficult to regulate and keep, and that means keeping a nice relaxed position so that the energy can flow through freely, is the lower back and also in the back of the neck. So let's look at the lower back now. So I'm going to turn sideways on, and what I'd like you to do now, all of you, you could stay as you are, but what I'd like you to do is look at me, and what I'm going to do, I'll just pull up this top so you can see my lower back, so you can see here, okay? What I'm going to do now is I'm going to make a really big curve in my back so that it's almost like your bum sticks out. Can you see that curve in the back there now? So if you do that, feel what you're feeling in that lower back area. And what you probably feel is quite a lot of muscular tension either side of the spine. So now what I'd like you to do is to flatten your back by tucking your tailbone down. So thinking of moving the lower part of the spine down, tucking it in, and then also moving the bottom part of the pelvis forwards and almost upwards here. So create a little bit of tension here in the abdomen, hold your belly in a little bit. So it's like you're tucking your bum underneath, and you see how my back flattens. So I'll show you the difference again between the two. So this is compression in the spine, and this is open and free flowing in the spine. So as you flatten the back, you probably notice that give, that ease in the muscles either side of the spine. So that's the position that you're looking for with a Qigong stance. Because if everything's squashed together, when your back is really curved and everything is squashed, what happens is as all of that gets squashed, it's like you create a traffic jam in the vertebrae of the spine. So the blood and the chi, the energy, can't flow freely through that area. It's all kind of a little bit squashed. And if it can't flow freely, that's kind of the opposite of what we're looking to do. So that's the lower back. And then the next thing is the shoulders. So what I'd like you all to do now is just check that your shoulders are nice and relaxed. Very commonly, we hold a lot of tension in our shoulder area, especially we do a lot of things that involve us being in front of the body. So we do a lot of things, so people working on computers, you're facing forwards. If you're driving, you're facing forwards. And what happens with that is the upper back, especially in the backs, the shoulders here, it rounds, it creates a lot of tension in the shoulder area. So what we want to do is we want to make sure that the shoulders are very far away from your earlobes. So a lot of us, very commonly, as we become more and more tense, our shoulders creep up like this. We start to wear our shoulders as earrings. So what you want to do is drop the shoulders down. So if I can ask you now, just to take a breath in, and as you breathe in, shrug your shoulders up as far as they can go. And then breathing out through the mouth and drop them down. The arms just dangle loosely by the sides. So again, shrugging the shoulders up and down. And one more time, up and down. So nice relaxed shoulders, and then just shake out the arms. So the arms are very loose and relaxed in the Qigong stance, almost like you're a puppet on a string. So they're just dangling down by your sides. Now remember, the second position, the second area of the body that's most difficult to regulate, along with the lower back, is the neck area. So again, I'm going to turn sideways on and show you what happens in the back of the neck. So very often when we're walking around, when we're going about our daily business, our head is up in the air, so the chin is up. And what that does, if you look at me from the side, if I lift my chin, you'll see this creates a huge kind of curve in the back of the neck. And again, that curvature is putting pressure on the vertebrae of the spine. So you want to open everything up. You want to create space in the back of the neck so that the energy and the blood can flow through there. And again, that will help to release any tension in the neck and the shoulder area for you as well. So the way in which we do that is, firstly, we drop the chin. So the chin ideally should be parallel with the floor. So not up here and not too far down here, because leaning forwards like this with the chin down is also creating a lot of pressure. Your head is a very heavy part of your body, and by just dropping down like this, you're creating a lot of tension here around the back of the neck and into the shoulders. So chin is parallel, and then the other really good trick to do with this, to create even more space in the back of the neck, is to think of tucking the chin back towards the throat, so in this direction. So your chin is parallel, and then you're drawing the chin back. And as you do that, if you look at the direction of my chin now, you'll see that my head comes up. I get elevation in the back of the neck and going up through the top of the head, almost like I'm being pulled up by a string from above. So I'll show you again. So the chin is parallel. So this is just kind of normal position. And then as I pull the chin back, just watch the back of my head and my neck. You see how there's more straightness comes into it. And as I do that, what I'm feeling is a lovely extension all the way down through the back of the neck, but also into the upper back, either side of the shoulder blades. So that's a really great trick to bear in mind, especially for anyone who's driving. If you're driving ever, especially long distances, often when we're driving, I turn sideways on again, you've got a hand on the steering wheel and we drive like this. So what you want to do is drop the shoulders and then bring the chin back in towards the throat and get this lovely elevation up the back of the neck. And that will prevent you from accumulating that kind of tension in the shoulders that we often do when we're driving, or if we're working on a computer, or even just in a normal sitting position. Just keep remembering to pull the chin back towards the throat, and you really get a lot of relief in that neck area. So then we're standing nice and tall. So this is your standing position, okay? And so you should feel nice and stable in this position. So what I'm also going to show you now is, I'm just going to show you, for those of you who prefer to sit, I'm going to show you the sitting position. So just bear with me a second and I'll grab a chair. Okay, so for sitting, you've got your feet in the same position as for standing. I know you probably can't see my feet right here. I can't go any further back against the wall. But you've got the leg position is the same, apart from your knees are at right angles. So when you're sitting, you've got your feet hip-width distance apart and your knees hip-width distance apart. Again, you've got this lovely relaxation in the shoulders, far away from your earlobes. And for your hands, what you can do when you're sitting is you can have them in a number of different positions, whichever is comfortable for you. So you can either have the hands palms facing down, resting on the knees, palms facing up. Some people like to have one palm on top of the other. So what you're looking for though is lovely relaxation in the elbows. I see a lot of people when they're sitting and they have that, when I say pop your palms onto your knees, they sit like this. So the arms are really tense. You want a lovely bend in the elbows. You want to feel no tension at all. The hands are just resting. The hands are not in any tension. Just gently, if they're facing up, they're gently just the fingers just gently curled. If they're facing down, very gently, just in contact with the thighs. Now, for the sitting position, what's the most important thing to remember is, again, you want to have this lovely openness in the lower back area and in the neck, which are the two areas which often get squashed. So I'll just turn the chair sideways on so you can see what I mean. Okay, so from here, ideally, if your back allows for it, what you want to be doing is sitting on the front third of the chair. So you see where I am here. The front of the chair is here. I'm on the first third. Now, that's not always possible for people. Sometimes you feel like that's kind of tiring just to support your own back, because in this position you want to have this lovely straight back. You want the lower part of the back to be straight. You want the chin to be tucked in back towards the throat, so you've got this lovely length in the back of the neck and elevation up the top, coming up through the top of the head. That might not be a comfortable position for you. So what I would say is you could start like this, but you may feel like you need to rest at some point, that the back feels tired. So what you don't want to be doing is just slumping back in the chair like this. That's very bad for your back. So if you do feel like you need some more support, what I want you to do is just move the whole of your body back, move your knees and your legs back, get yourself really comfortable in the chair. And ideally, the chair should have a straight back. And this one is not ideal, it's slightly sloping backwards. So you see, if I use it to support my body, it leaves me sloping backwards a little bit. It's not too bad. But your ideal chair for practicing Qigong, if you need that back support, is with a complete right angle between the seat and the upright of the chair. So you really feel like you're being supported in that position. So that's your sitting position in the chair. So find a position which is comfortable for you, is what I would say. So it can be sitting, it can be standing, whatever's easier for you. And you could start maybe standing and then go into a sitting position a little bit later on. Excuse me, I'll just put my chair out of the way. So I'm going to teach the rest of the class standing, but if you want to sit down at any point, that's absolutely fine. So I'm in my standing position now. Now, that position of the Qigong stance took me quite a while to explain to you. But once you get used to adopting this position, it takes you just a couple of seconds just to kind of do all the little checks as you go. Start at the feet, go up through the knees, into the lower back, check the shoulders, check the head and the chin, and then you're kind of in that nice relaxed stance. And the reason that I labor this is because it is one of the, I suppose, foundational postures for all the Qigong exercises. So with Qigong, ideally, it's practiced outside in nature so that you can really work with the energy of nature as well and just absorb all the lovely natural surroundings that you're in. So most of the time in nature, we probably find ourselves standing. Sometimes we have the opportunity to sit down. It depends on, I live in Ireland, so it's wet most of the time. So there's not many places to sit. It's much easier to stay dry if you're standing. So the standing position is one of the foundational positions in Qigong, and it is actually an exercise in itself. So you can do this, you can just go out into your garden or go outside somewhere and just stand, and by getting yourself into that position, what you're doing is you're allowing for the open and free flow of qi or energy throughout your body without doing anything else. So standing still in the correct Qigong stance is an exercise in itself. Standing still, just breathing, just observing what's around you. Maybe if you're outside, it's really great if you can just have your eyes just very kind of relaxed and just kind of gently kind of focusing on what's around you, and use your senses to tune in with the environment. So you can just be standing, and observing what you see, looking at the shapes and the colours around you. And then use your sense of hearing. Maybe close your eyes to listen more intently and hear what's around you. You find that you hear some things that maybe are very close to you, and then in your mind extend your hearing wider. So hearing things, try to hear things that are further away from you. Really, with practice, you'll increase your level of perception and what you're actually hearing. And then also, as you're breathing, is there any smell around you? In nature, we often can smell flowers, we can smell, if we're next to a river, we can smell the moisture in the air. If we're at the sea, we can smell the sea. So pay attention to what you smell in your environment as well. And then also you may be, because smell and taste are quite closely connected, you might also have a taste. You know, certainly when I go walking at the beach, I can taste the salt. I can smell the sea air, but I can taste the salt in my mouth as well. So you might have a sensation of some kind of taste. So really tune into your senses just from this standing position, and that's an exercise in itself. So this is the Qigong stance, and you have also the sitting position as an option available to you. So the next basic thing that we're going to look at today is the breath. So in Qigong, we're working with three different things, three elements, and they are the mind, the breath, and simple movements. So we have, in the stance, we actually have a very simple movement going on, which in this lovely relaxed position, you might find your body starting to rock backwards and forwards. And that sensation of movement, of rocking backwards and forwards, really represents how relaxed you're feeling. It's a really great sign that you're nice and relaxed. And it's caused by three things. It's caused by your breathing, it's caused by your heart beating, because even though we think we're standing still, there's lots of movement going on inside as your heart beats and the blood is flowing around your body. And then also, some people are really sensitive to the magnetic field of the earth, and they might feel that that's kind of pulling them in one direction or another as well. So even when we think we're standing still and not moving at all, there is movement happening. So that's one of the elements of Qigong. But we also have the breath and the mind, which are really important as well. So let's look at the breath next. So the breathing in Qigong is usually a form of breathing called abdominal breathing. And as I said to you earlier, if anyone's practiced any yoga or Tai Chi, you use abdominal breathing in those practices as well. So you might find there's some bit of an overlap here. You might find that you've done some element of this before. So with abdominal breathing, what you're doing is you're coming back to a way of breathing that you were born doing. So all babies, when they're born, breathe like this. And children breathe like this up until the age of about 7, at which point their breath becomes much more shallow and they start to kind of breathe more into the upper part of the chest. Most likely as a result of kind of rushing around and all the things that kids have going on now, and just that kind of modern day living, everything being at a fast pace, the breath becomes much more shallow. So as a baby though, they're breathing into their belly, into the lower belly. And if any of you have got pets at home as well, if you look at animals when they're sleeping, you'll see that they breathe into their belly. So it's not their lungs that are moving, it's actually their belly that you see rising and falling while they're sleeping. And the advantage of abdominal breath physically is that it's much more efficient. So you're using the deeper parts of your lungs, and as you breathe into the deeper parts of the lungs, it presses down on the diaphragm, which is this muscle that runs along the bottom of the rib cage here. And as the diaphragm presses down, it pushes the belly out. So that happens as you breathe in. And then as you breathe out, the belly shrinks, pushes the diaphragm up, and then the breath comes back up and out through the nostrils. So that's abdominal breathing. And because you're using those deeper parts of the lungs, it's about 70% more efficient than regular breathing, which would be in this upper part of the lungs. And with the regular kind of chest breathing that most of us do as adults, what can happen with that is that if we are really breathing quite shallowly, it can make us feel quite anxious and quite short of breath, like you can't, almost like you can't catch your breath. So for any of you who have any breathing difficulties, abdominal breathing can be very helpful for you to give you a bit more of a sense of ease around the breath so that you don't feel so constricted. The other thing about abdominal breathing on a more kind of mental and emotional level is that it's extremely calming. It calms and clears the mind without you even trying. So often people, after practicing abdominal breathing only for a couple of minutes, feel as though they're so much calmer, they're much kind of clearer in their mind. So abdominal breathing can be very useful if you feel anxious, if you feel restless, if emotionally things just don't feel smooth. But also it's a really great practice to do if any of you have difficulty sleeping. If you can't get off to sleep at night, then while you're lying there in the bed, just begin with abdominal breathing. And similarly, if you wake up in the middle of the night as well and you can't get back to sleep, just come into your abdominal breathing and it will enable you to get back to sleep a lot quicker. Also, it's an energizing breath because it's using extra lung capacity, so you feel like it gives you more energy. So abdominal breathing is quite interesting because it's that combination of feeling relaxed on the one hand but energized on the other. And there are a few practices like Tai Chi and yoga where you get that really interesting combination of relaxation but also feeling, you know, a great sense of vitality at the same time. And hopefully when we go through the abdominal breathing now, you'll feel that as we do it. So the way to get into this is firstly just to maybe feel into the movement first, the movement of the breath. So just place a hand flat over your lower belly to begin with, just resting below the belly button and just feel that lower belly area. So in Qigong and in Chinese medicine, this whole area of the lower abdomen is almost like a ball in the inside. It's like a sphere inside your lower abdomen area. So it's not just something that you're thinking of at the front here. It extends towards the sides of your body, inside, and also to the back of the body, back towards the kidneys and back towards the spine. So this area, this whole sphere here, it's your energy center. It's where you're drawing qi or energy in by using your breath and other kind of qigong movement exercises. And from there, it's like your powerhouse, it's the engine. And imagine it, I think of it like a front-loading washing machine where all the washing is swirling around inside. It's very dynamic. So what you're looking for here is to bring the energy in, and from there, your body does the rest of the job for you. It just naturally circulates that energy and distributes it around the rest of your body to have all the lovely kind of healing and balancing benefits for you. This area, this sphere, this area in the body has a special name in Qigong and in Chinese medicine, and it's called Dantian. So I'll be referring to Dantian very frequently during the course of the next 6 weeks. So Dantian is down here in the lower belly, but remember, not just at the front, going out to the sides and in the back. So it's a three-dimensional thing. Okay, so your hand is resting over the Dantian area. So what I'd like you to do now is, as you take a breath in, breathe in through the nose, close the mouth, and keep the mouth closed, breathing out through the nose as well. So in Qigong, we breathe in and out through the nose. So maybe just close your eyes for a moment. Close the mouth. Breathing in and out through the nose, but not changing the breath in any way right now. Your tongue is resting against the roof of the mouth, with the tip of the tongue resting against the back of the upper teeth. Now just let the jaw fall open, the lower jaw, for a moment. And just wiggle the lower jaw from side to side. Just checking that you're not holding any tension in the jaw joint itself, where the upper and the lower jaw meet. We often hold a lot of tension here and clench the teeth and do all the kind of teeth grinding things at night time. So a lot of us feel quite tense either side here. So just that simple wiggling of the jaw side to side can relieve that for you. And then close the mouth again. So keeping the eyes closed, just observing your breath now, and ask yourself, is my breath deep or shallow? Does it feel fast or slow? Does it also feel as though it's very open and free-flowing? Or is there any difficulty with breathing? Does it feel constricted or blocked anywhere as I'm breathing in or out? And also, is the breath silent? Or can you hear yourself breathing? And if you can hear yourself breathing, can you hear yourself more as you inhale or as you exhale? So breathing in and out through the nose. And the only time you wouldn't use the nose to breathe in and out is if you have a sinus infection or a cold, you might need to open the mouth. And in Qigong also, we use sound sometimes as part of the exercises. And if you're making sound for the exercise, then the mouth is open in order for that to happen. But for most parts, the breathing is in and out through the nose. So now bear in mind those observations about your breath. So deep or shallow, obstructed or free-flowing, fast or slow, and silent or noisy. And now, just begin to bring your breath a little bit deeper down into this dantian area, into the lower abdomen. So as you breathe in, think of expanding the lower belly, almost like you're inflating a balloon in all directions, forwards, backwards, sideways, in that dantian area. And then as you breathe out, feel the balloon shrinking back down towards the spine, getting smaller. So you might find to feel into this movement, if it's something you've never done before, you might find it's quite difficult. The easiest way to practice this is lying down. So when you go into bed at night, practice this, because what you'll feel is as you're breathing in, you'll feel the rise of the belly up towards the ceiling. And then as you breathe out, you'll feel the whole belly sinking back down into the bed. So if this is something that's new to you, then practice it lying down. And what I would also say as you're practicing this now, and just feeling into the movement of the belly, is don't breathe too deeply. If you haven't done this before and you take in a huge breath of oxygen and you keep breathing like this, you make yourself dizzy. So if anyone feels dizzy when they practice this, it's because your body is not used to this amount of oxygen coming in one go. And so you need, again, it's safer to practice it sitting or lying down and to make the breath a little bit more shallow. So that's just something to bear in mind. If you are breathing too deeply and you feel a bit dizzy, that's what's happening. So the breath you're aiming for is something that's just very easy and free-flowing, almost like a wave washing up on the beach. The wave comes in, the wave goes out. And just breathing and feeling, first of all, just that movement, the expansion of the lower belly, and then the shrinking of the belly as you breathe out. So remember, in Qigong, we have the 3 parts to the exercise. The movement, which you're feeling right now, the rise and fall of the belly. Secondly, the breathing, which you're doing now, you're working with the abdominal breath. And the third thing is the mind. So we're going to begin to bring your mind into this right now. So as you breathe in, I want you to think in your mind's eye of catching that very first little bit of breath as it enters your nostrils. So breathing in, and in your mind, follow the breath all the way down into Dantian. So your mind is following the breath down to Dantian in the lower abdomen. And then as the breath turns around and you begin to breathe out, the mind follows the breath back up through the center of the chest and the throat to the back of the throat and then out the nostrils, consciously following the exhalation out with your mind. So combining the breath and the mind. So as you're breathing in, catching that first little bit of breath at the nostrils with your mind, following it all the way down to Dantian, and then breathing out, following the breath up and out by using your mind. And as you breathe out, be very conscious of letting that breath go out through the nostrils. Please keep your focus on this because you want to make sure it goes out and away from you. You don't want the breath to come up and then a little bit of that exhalation kind of almost escapes, the energy of it escapes up into the head. Because what you're doing is you're breathing out waste chi, waste air, waste energy. So you don't want that to go into your head. You'll give yourself a headache. You want to make sure that you're consciously breathing out that waste chi through the nostrils and seeing it in your mind's eye go away from your body. So just experiencing the movement of the abdomen and that combination of the mind and the breath working together. The mind is following the breath. And just continue with that with your eyes closed for a few more breaths. Each time you breathe out, say to yourself, relax. And feel your body, letting go of any tension, getting heavier, releasing any discomfort. With each exhalation, letting go a little bit more. And now we're going to move on, still staying with the abdominal breath, keeping your eyes closed. We're going to move on and use the abdominal breathing for a more therapeutic or medical purpose. So my training in Qigong is in medical Qigong, in how it can help you to rebalance and improve your state of health. So this very simple little breathing exercise I'm going to show you now, utilizing the abdominal breath, but more importantly using your mind, will help you to get rid of anything in your body or your mind that you don't want. So what I want you to think of now is something in your body or mind that you don't want. It can be a physical sensation, so it can be an ache or a pain in the joints or the muscles, or it could be a headache or digestive pain, anything like that. Or it could be something more mental or emotional in terms of a feeling, something like anxiety or restlessness or anger, frustration, grief, fear, sadness, anything, overwhelm, anything at all. And you'll find as I'm asking you to do this that one thing will probably just pop into your mind immediately. Stick with the one thing. You might have a few things that also come to you after that, but go with your first instinct and just stick with the one thing. You can always move on and work with something else the next time you practice. So think of that thing that you want to get rid of, that you want to lead out of your body. And we're going to work with the breath now in order to do that. So very importantly, when you're working with any kind of healing of the body and the mind needs space for that to happen. So to get rid of the clutter from inside, which could be any feelings of discomfort, what we call waste chi in the body, or turbid chi, that's anything that you don't want. So it's almost like before you can kind of get everything, if you were thinking of your house, before you can get everything organized in your house and make it all clean and tidy, you need to clear out. You need to do a bit of a clean out first, get rid of any clutter around the place. And so there's more free flow of air. You open a few windows, you get rid of any rubbish, and then you can start to bring in lovely clean energy into your house. So it's the same way with your body and your mind. So what we're going to do is we're going to get rid of the clutter here. So this one thing that you've decided that you don't need in your body anymore, you're clearing it out, and by doing that, leading it out of your body, you're then leaving space inside your body and your mind by which lovely, clear, fresh air or chi can enter into Dantian to do all the good stuff in terms of calming your mind and re-energizing the body. So we're creating space. So think of the thing you don't want, and the next time you breathe out, in your mind's eye, see it leaving your body by coming up from Dantian, all the way up through the center of the chest, center of the throat, the back of the throat, and then out the nostrils. And in your mind's eye, see it floating away across the room, out the window, and up into the clouds, far away from you. And then as you breathe in, what you've got is space to breathe now. So draw in lovely, clean, fresh, energizing air or chi. Bringing it all the way down to Dantian. Then with your next exhale, lead out that thing that you don't want, all the way up and out through the nostrils, far away up into the sky. And then bring in, with the inhalation, more clean, fresh air. And as you're leading out the thing you don't want, be mindful that you're not doing this with any force or any anger. You're not trying to battle with it and force it out. What you're doing is you're clearing, it's like you're clearing the path in a forest that's overgrown with bushes. So you're clearing the way and making the pathway for that thing you don't want to very easily leave your body. So it's almost like you're saying to it, come on, you don't need to be here. You'll have much more fun up there in the sky. So I'm just going to show you the way out. So you're gently leading it out, not with any bad feeling or anything, just very gently encouraging it to leave your body or your mind. So just keep going for a few more breaths with that. And as you do that, whatever that thing is that you don't want, just feel it dissipating. Feel it getting smaller or becoming less intense in terms of sensation. And this is a very powerful way in which you can use a simple breathing exercise to make a big difference to what's going on with your state of health. It's very simple, but it's very effective. Just keep going for a few more breaths, relaxing with each exhalation, leading out that thing you don't want, and then drawing in lovely, clean, fresh, energizing air or chi each time you inhale to Dantian in the lower abdomen. And now, relaxing your mind, taking it away from that thought and bringing your mind back to the simple rise and fall of your lower belly as you breathe in and out. Breathing in, the belly expands like blowing up a balloon. Breathing out, the belly shrinks back towards the spine. And now I'm going to ask you again, still with your eyes closed, to observe the breath as you did at the beginning. So now ask yourself, is my breath deeper or shallower than when I started? Is it faster or slower? Is it louder or quieter? And does it feel more open and free-flowing? Or does it still feel as though there's some bit of narrowing or obstruction there as I'm breathing? So observing all the small changes which happen with your breath, your feelings, both physically and emotionally, is a very important part of Qigong, because it shows you how the exercises are helping you. And paying this close attention, which we very rarely do, can really help you to pinpoint and highlight the areas of your body or your mind where you would like to see a little bit more balance, a little bit more energy, a little bit less pain. So Qigong practice in this way can highlight the areas which are important for you to focus on. And the reason that that's really good is that you can often identify small niggles and small problems and rectify them before they become a big problem that's maybe gone unnoticed, which needs more medical intervention. So identifying and nipping things in the bud is really the beauty of medical Qigong, where you can use it just to be very aware of your own state and just deal with all of these small things as they come up, correct them as you go along, so they never become a problem in the first place. So now, most of you, I think, will have one hand flat on your lower belly, but if you don't have, just place it on your belly, keeping the eyes closed. Place your other hand flat on top of the first hand, so the palm of the second hand is on the back of the first hand that's resting on the belly. And then keeping the eyes closed, bring your mind to Dantian, to the lower belly area. And just sealing in all the lovely energy that you've been working with by just circling, rubbing your belly in one direction, doesn't matter which, nice and slowly, keeping your mind in Dantian. And then changing the direction, circling the opposite way. And then still with the eyes closed, those of you who are wearing glasses, you might want to remove them now, just put them to the side. And with the eyes closed, bring the palms of your hands together, and you're going to rub your hands in front of you until they get really hot, rubbing the palms till they feel really, really warm. And then when you feel like they're roasting hot, place one palm over each eye with the fingers facing up towards the ceiling. So flat over each eye, feel the heat from the palms, feel that energy going into your eyes, nourishing the eyes, traveling through the back, out the backs of your eyes, nourishing your mind. And when you feel the heat dissipating, keeping the eyes closed still, just begin to give your face a little rub, like you're giving yourself a little face wash or a face massage. Some of you might also want to tap on the face, on the forehead, maybe around the cheeks and the chin. Just do a little bit of tapping with the fingertips, just to bring yourself back into the room. And as you do this, just slowly opening the eyes. And then if you're standing, you've been there for a little while, so you might want to just shake out the arms, shake out the legs. And if you're sitting, what I would say to you now is just, if you can, stand up for just a moment. What we're going to do is just shake everything out. So just be very nice and loose and relaxed. Very loose with the arms, so just shaking the arms really loosely, maybe bouncing up and down a tiny little bit on the knees. Keep the feet solid and grounded, in touch with the ground. And then maybe just turn from side to side at the waist. So turning, and you'll see that my arms just follow. I'm not moving my arms at all with any kind of muscular effort. I'm just turning in the waist and feeling a little bit of movement, the arms following, and that's just releasing any little bit of tension in the back, just releasing all the muscles. And that is the end of today's practice. So just to summarize what we went through, firstly, we began with the Qigong stance, so getting into the correct stance. So the main things to remember with the stance are that you feel really solid and kind of grounded, really rooted in the ground, with that contact of the soles of the feet being very kind of stuck to the ground almost. And then also those two parts in the body that are very difficult to regulate and promote that free flow of qi or energy through are the lower back and the neck. So you want that nice tailbone tucked under, pelvis forwards to get a nice flat back. And then also in the neck, you want the chin parallel with the ground and the chin tucked back towards the throat to give you that length in the back of the neck, and just to spread out and give the vertebrae that little bit more distance between them. So that's your Qigong stance. Remember, when you're in the sitting position, if you can, sit on the front third of the chair and support your own spine so that it's upright. But if you do feel like you need some back support, then move your whole body back so that you're not slouching in the chair, and allow the back of the chair to support your back. The next thing we moved on to was the abdominal breathing. So really just firstly, if you've never done this before and all of that seemed like too much, just feel into the movement. Just go and lie down somewhere and feel the rise of the belly as you breathe in and the fall of the belly as you breathe out. When you're comfortable with the movement, then what you can do is start to bring the mind into this, and getting the mind to coordinate with the breath, the mind following the breath all the way down and then back up and out. And then that last little part that we did was working more from a medical point of view on getting rid of anything that you don't want. So you can pick anything. It can be a different thing every day, or it can be the same thing every day, whether it's physical or whether it's mental or emotional. Whatever you want to do, just pick the thing you don't want and gently lead it out of your body as you exhale. And then as you inhale, breathing in lovely, clean, fresh, energizing air or qi, which will go into Dantian. It will all swirl around, circle around there, be distributed around the rest of the body, and just do that natural rebalancing of your health that needs to happen for all of us, because we can never be too healthy. So hopefully you found that introduction really useful, and if you have any questions at all, what you can do is you can directly email me. I think my email address is on the web page, but for those of you who want to take a note of it now, it's Janice, Janice, at spacetorelax, all one word, .com. So if you want to email me about any of that, then please feel free to ask me questions. And I believe you have the opportunity to ask me questions at the end of this session today. So I'm just going to come forward to the camera now, and if anyone has anything they want to ask, then I'll be delighted to help you.